380 ACP versus 38 Special in our compact guns. What I have today is our Magtech ammunition, a 95 grain jacketed hollow point for our 380 ACP, and a 125 grain semi-jacketed hollow point for our 38 Special. So I've tested that 38 Special in my Taurus 2-inch snub in the past. I'm going to test it today in our 3-inch Taurus, and then I'm going to use my Smith & Wesson Shield EZ and 380 ACP with a 3.68-inch barrel to test our 380 ACP. So our 380 ACP is rated at 951 feet per second. Our 38 Special is rated at 938 feet per second. In the past, I got about 870 in the 2-inch Taurus snub, so I'm hoping to get a little more velocity in our 3-inch barrel. So we're going to do this test. We're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. We're going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential of those cartridges are. No denim in the way or anything like that to clog a hollow point. See what our best potential is. Then after that, I'm going to do more of our real world simulation where I have 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, I'll have a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard that's going to represent hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I am going to shoot at the steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 380 ACP. This is rated at 951 feet per second with this 95 grain jacketed hollow point. Let's see how close we get to 951 feet per second. We're about 5 yards from that target. $939, 915, 926, 905, 932. So below rated velocity, and this is one of the longer barreled 380 ACP pistols out there. So interesting, we did not get rated velocity. Our 38 Special, I think I got about 870 in the 2-inch barrel, and it's rated at 938. Let's see what I get in our 3-inch barrel here. $964, $955, $950, $958, $962. That stuff had a lot of muzzle flash, and we're above the rated velocity. So this 38 Special is significantly more powerful than that 380 ACP, but it is a different bullet style, so this might perform differently in gel than our traditional jacketed hollow point. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, first up, our plain clear ballistics test. Our best potential: no denim to clog a hollow point, no rib simulation to slow down penetration. Let's see what we get here with our 380 ACP. All right, let's hit that with our 38 Special. Let's take a look. All right, so quite a big difference here in performance. I wasn't expecting to see it, this much of a difference. I honestly thought the 38 Special was going to go further and the 380 was going to not penetrate very far. Big difference here in our first 3 inches here. On the top with our 38 Special, huge energy dump, none with our 380 ACP, and that can be seen also with no hollow point expansion with our 380 ACP. We over penetrated just a little bit, but it's not too bad. We're at about 19.5 inches. I'm not going to really call that over penetration. That's still within a reasonable number here. And we see some damage right here in the bottom with our 380. That's from tumbling. I can tell that because just the way that gel looks, it bubbles up a little bit when you tumble something through there. As we're with our 38 Special, we did not get that type of effect going on. We have more like scoring cut lines going up and down, and that generally happens from hollow point expansion. We are at about 12 inches even. I know camera parallax will make it look like that bullet is actually up a little bit further than 12 inches, but exactly 12 inches even from my angle here. So it just barely penetrated enough, but that's partly because I think it expanded quite big. Now, if you lower that expansion with our denim and our rib simulation, that might actually equal out to being pretty good. So let's do that. Let's put on our denim, put on our MDF, see how they compare in more of our real world simulation. All right, 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, a 1/4 inch MDF, our real world simulation. Probably the only thing that's going to happen here is we're going to slow down penetration with our 380 and probably increase it with our 38. So let's see what we get here with our 380 ACP. All right, let's hit that with our 38 special now. Let's go take a look. Yeah, pretty much how I expected that to happen. You know, generally if you get hollow point expansion, denim will slow that or lower that expansion down a little bit. And if you didn't get expansion to begin with, well, having a rib simulation is just going to slow that bullet's penetration down a little bit. So what we got going on here, going through our MDF, we can see a little bit going on here. Nothing going on with our 380. With our 38 special, we can see some amount of mushrooming going on, and that's kind of the cool effect of our semi-jacketed hollow point, is that even if it can't get expansion the way a traditional hollow point can get expansion, being a soft nose, it'll still mushroom a little bit. So what we got with our 380 ACP, a little less energy dump in the first 3 inches, a little less damage all along that path there, except right here is a little bit going on there at about the 6 inch mark, but no expansion with either of these 380 shots. Our second one went to 16.5 inches. Now with our 38 special plus P, we got a little more controlled expansion, or about 17.5 inches. So I would say, looking at this, obviously our 38 special did better here because we got some expansion and we did not under or over penetrate. Our 380 got no expansion with both shots and over penetrated just a tad. All that being said, I think both of these would do okay. Now I think honestly our 38 would do a lot better in a real world situation. It just had a lot more power. It was a lot louder, a lot of flash. It would just be, you know, blinding a little bit. And it hit real hard and expanded. Our 380 though, I would say it's pretty acceptable. And this is where a lot of people will say, well, I only use ball ammo because you're not going to get expansion anyway. I disagree with that, because a lot of times when you use ball ammo, you're getting up here with penetration. For whatever reason, non-expanding hollow point always penetrates a little bit less. So I think it's putting a little bit of pressure on that nose, and it's slowing it down, putting a little more damage, because full metal jackets generally just have just a straight line. You get a little more damage with a non-expanded hollow point. So I would say both of these are acceptable for what they are, but our 38 special did a lot better. That being said, it might be a little bit harder to control the recoil. So that's why I'm going to go and shoot our steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get. But first, let's take these out of the block. We'll take a close-up look at them, then I'll shoot our steel. So here's a close-up look at these bullets. Here's our 38 special plus P going through our plain gel. Really big, fantastic semi-jacketed hollow point expansion. Expanded out quite large. Now with our 380 ACP, we had no hollow point expansion at all. You know, I would say it's the same as a full metal jacket. Not quite, because you do get a little more damage going on with stuff like this versus full metal jacket. So no expansion at all. Now when we look at our bullets from our MDF and denim shot, same thing going on here with our 380 ACP. We have no expansion whatsoever, which is pretty disappointing. You know, what's the point of that to some degree is what my question would be, if we're shooting it through almost a 4-inch barrel and we still can't get hollow point expansion. And when we look at our 38 special going through our denim and MDF, this is pretty typical, even in 4-inch barrels. You're going to see a bullet, I haven't measured these yet, but typically they wind up anywhere between 42 and 44 diameter, 42 and 44 1/100ths of an inch in mushrooming and or expansion. They're kind of mushrooming is what's going on, I believe. They fill with denim and they might not mushroom out or expand, but when they hit the MDF, they mushroom out just a little bit. So overall, I would say our 38 special definitely would do a lot more damage in a flush target than our 380 ACP, but our 380 ACP has very low recoil and just a tad more capacity in most pistols. So that's a close-up look at those. All right, I'm 12 yards from the target, so the controllability of the recoil, there was a big significant difference between both of these. So I want to see, you know, first of all, how accurate I can be at 12 yards just shooting slow fire, and then speed it up and see, you know, if I can land shots, which ones land a little bit easier for me. So I'm just going to do headshots with some slow fire with the 380 and then the 38 special. Then I'll speed it up after that. So here's our 380 first. All right, let's see how the 38 special does doing that same thing. I would say our accuracy is pretty similar between those two. So what I want to do now is I want to just get a front sight picture, pop off, you know, a fully loaded cylinder versus a fully loaded magazine. Capacities is similar between both of these. 6 for a revolver, 7 for a semi-auto, and see how their controllability is. So I'll do 38 special first. All right, I missed one somehow. All right, so our 380 ACP, I can find my reload here. Let's see if I can land any of these a little bit quicker on target. So 380, let's see what this does for me. All right, so I don't know what I did there. I kind of screwed up. I just kind of let the trigger get away from me, and I pulled them way over the target. I just kind of lost control there. So I wasn't thinking a whole lot about being super accurate, and that's the result there. So I think that's kind of why some of the instances in law enforcement in the early 90s changed to where there's a lot more shots fired. It's easy for that to get away from you with such a light trigger press. So just for fun, I'm going to back it up, fire a few more rounds, see how they do for me, and then we'll talk about this ammo. All right, 75 yards from the target, really just for fun. I'm just going to fire 6 shots and then 7 on the 380 ACP. See if they're wildly inaccurate or if I could make a hit or two. So I'm not really sure what to expect, but let's see what I can do with that 38 special, see where these hit for me. These are probably going to the left. I can't tell because the flash is so big. It's obstructing my view of where they're impacting. So I'm going to aim to the right a little bit. A little bit left high. So pretty inaccurate. When I made those hits, I aimed to the right off the target like 4 feet. And that's a problem I knew about this Taurus revolver. It's just always shot to the left, and the replacement they gave me, to one that was broken, also shoots to the left very far. It's not me because every other revolver I have shoots center, but 380 ACP, let's see how these things will do for me. All right, so a little bit better accuracy with this. I wasn't expecting to make even a single hit with this, so I'm kind of surprised that it hit. One thing I like about the 380, and this is why at 12 yards it got away from me. 380 ACP, I'm a big fan of it because it's one of those weird calibers where it's like, when you put it in a pistol like this, the recoil is very similar to a 22, but at the same time it's shooting a bullet that's almost 100 grains. That's a 9mm in diameter. It's just unusual to have such low recoil in a gun like this for how big that bullet is. And looking at my accuracy at the 38, did pretty good up close, but you know, it's one of those things, like, it got away from me because I've been thinking, okay, the 38, I got to think about bringing that muzzle back down. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, 380 is like a 22, I can just pop them off, I'll definitely hit them all. And then, and then I pulled high and I just kept firing, and the trigger is such a short reset that I couldn't control that, and it just kept going with it and did pretty terrible at 12 yards. But looking at our slow fire accuracy, both of them are about as accurate as each other, so we'll just take the 75-yard portion out. There's no real reason to have this in here and to count it as part of the test, but I just like to do it for fun. So looking at this, I would say both these have their pros and their cons. You know, a lot of people like to say that the 380 and the 38 Special are like the same. They're very significantly the same. They had the same power, all that, and that's really not true at all. A lot of people look at like some of the information from lead round nose 38 Special, and they'll read a box of ammo. Oh, it has 180 foot-pounds, and then they'll take a 380 jacket of hollow point. Oh, this has a 180 foot-pounds, and you know, both of them have the same energy, and both of them have about the same diameter. They're the same, but they're completely different animals. The 38 Special, in and of itself, is significantly more powerful. You're just losing a lot of velocity in a short barrel, so it brings it down kind of to the 380 level, but it's still significantly more powerful than the 380 usually, and we're kind of seeing that here. So when you're shooting a 38+P, is very much like shooting a 9mm or 9mm+P even. We have a lot of not a lot, but a good majority of recoil. You got to bring it down, think about what you're doing, and control that gun. As with 380, there's like almost no thought process to it. It's very easy to control. But looking at the ballistic test here, I would say both are acceptable. But judging by the fact that we had hollow point expansion with the 38, and I could just tell it hitting that gel block a lot harder than that 380, my instinct tells me if you had to use one of these in a real world scenario where somebody's trying to hurt you, I feel like you might get off 3, 4, 5, 6 hits with the 380 and it might not be particularly effective. And I feel like a couple shots of this 38, a person's probably going to go down and not really want to fight anymore. So that's just my gut feeling looking at the ballistics gel test and kind of seeing the flash and the recoil and all that. It felt pretty powerful. So very interesting test to see these. I would say though that overall our Magtech ammo is not particularly good for our 380, but it's acceptable for our 38+Ps. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.